My spiritual teacher's son died of turbo cancer and thereby turbocharged my evolution of consciousness. Mado, Guillaume's mother, wrote, "Of all the sacrifices my ego has had to make so far in following Sri Aurobindo's path of integral yoga, the most difficult is related to my role as a mother. Obviously, I still have many egoic programs to dissolve, but the mother's program remains a challenge. Like sexuality, motherhood remains a fundamental program of animal humanity that ensures the perpetuation of the species. Its roots are deep and were essential in allowing this special species, Homo sapiens, to endure despite its self-destructive tendencies." The following is what I wrote to my mother. Hola, mamo. This morning I woke up with a song in my head. These words or thoughts typically come to me in the morning. I first had to check what is paloma. I found out it's a dove, therefore the white dove. Then I found the words to the song and the song itself. I'm sure you will also remember the song when you hear it. Una Paloma Blanca by George Baker, the second half of the song. Once I had my share of losing. Once they locked me on a chain. Yes, they tried to break my power. Oh, I still can feel the pain. Una paloma blanca. I'm just a bird in the sky. Una paloma blanca. Over the mountains I fly. Yes, no one can take my freedom away. No one can take my freedom away. The dove represents the spirit. In one of her many articles, Mado provided this image. Now she wrote this article, Laisser la mer et se donner à la mer. Leave the mother and give oneself to the mother. Available on tripletransformation.ca, but only in French. Mamo, I know that your birthday is in another 2 months, but I did not want to wait. I decided to offer you the special gift this year for the 8th 8th 2025, as you are completing 86 years. I also decided to include Malanka in this gift because of her birth date, the 4th of May. The month of May 2025 was a very significant month for many of us. It started out with Ghis leaving her earthly body on May 4th, 2025. And on May 9th, 2025, Guillaume left his earthly body. I did not plan on sharing this news with you initially because it has no significance for you. However, because I benefited so much after these events, I then realized that you will also benefit immensely from the following information, even if only subconsciously. Every perfect soul comes to Earth School to accumulate experiences and thereby evolve in consciousness. The ego is the one that dies. Therefore, he will not benefit from this information, nor from any experiences. Mama, I know that the real you, eternal, infinite, perfect soul that you are, has benefited immensely from everything that I have offered you over the years, no matter how much your ego has tried to ignore it. Through his personal, perfect story, has left us all an immense gift, and it must be shared. Further, as proof of perfection, Lee has just picked up again the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, We have both read this book before our jail times. We both picked it up and read it again during our jail times. I took a few parts which touched me deeply and included them into my book, and then the booklet, which I recently sent to both of you. Every time we reread this book, it has been as if reading it for the first time, because our level of consciousness has increased over time. Now, Lee was ready for it again. As he started reading it, he was so deeply touched that he started sharing it with me again. He found the PDF online, and therefore I include the PDF for both of you as an attachment. I believe that Malanka read this book as I have probably suggested it to her earlier on my journey. I know that you are both destined to read this book at this perfect time of now. You are not your mind, the greatest obstacle to enlightenment. Enlightenment. What is that? A beggar has been sitting by the side of a road for over 30 years. One day a stranger walked by. "Spare some change?" mumbled the beggar, mechanically holding out his old baseball cap. "I have nothing to give you," said the stranger. Then he asked, "What's that you're sitting on?" "Nothing," replied the beggar, "just an old box. I've been sitting on it for as long as I can remember." "Ever looked inside?" asked the stranger. "No," said the beggar. "What's the point? There's nothing there." "Have a look inside," insisted the stranger. The beggar managed to pry open the lid. With astonishment, disbelief, and elation, he saw that the box was filled with gold. I am that stranger who has nothing to give you and who is telling you to look inside. Not inside any box, as in the parable, but somewhere even closer, inside yourself. "But I'm not a beggar," I can hear you say. Those who have not found their true wealth, which is the radiant joy of being and the deep, unshakable peace that comes with it, are beggars, even if they have great material wealth. They are looking outside for scraps of pleasure or fulfillment, for validation, security, or love, while they have a treasure within that not only includes all those things, but is infinitely greater than anything the world can offer. The word enlightenment conjures up the idea of some superhuman accomplishment, and the ego likes to keep it that way. But it is simply your natural state of felt oneness with being. It is a state of connectedness with something immeasurable and indestructible, something that, almost paradoxically, is essentially you, and yet is much greater than you. It is finding your true nature beyond name and form. The inability to feel this connectedness gives rise to the illusion of separation from yourself and from the world around you. You then perceive yourself, consciously or unconsciously, as an isolated fragment. Fear arises, and conflict within and without becomes the norm. I love the Buddha's simple definition of enlightenment as the end of suffering. There is nothing superhuman in that, is there? Of course, as a definition, it is incomplete. It only tells you what enlightenment is not. No suffering. But what's left when there is no more suffering? The Buddha is silent on that, and his silence implies that you'll have to find out for yourself. He uses a negative definition so that the mind cannot make it into something to believe in or into a superhuman accomplishment, a goal that is impossible for you to attain. Despite this precaution, the majority of Buddhists still believe that enlightenment is for the Buddha and not for them, at least not in this lifetime. You use the word being. Can you explain what you mean by that? First, Mama, you ask, why am I sharing death with you on your birthday? And who is Guillaume Sauvé? Guillaume is Mado Sauvé's middle son. From my perspective, he was brought up in a perfect family environment. Both Mado and Jocelyn Sauvé are teachers. At least one of them was always at home with the children. Therefore, all three of the children benefited from full-time parental attention. They lived in a straw bale house with an inner compost-type toilet. They cultivated a huge garden every year and canned the food for the winter months. Since Guillaume and Geneviève were homeschooled, Guillaume explained that they had only 1 hour of education every day and spent the rest of the time helping out in the garden, with chores around the house, or in self-created playtime in a country environment. With that hour of daily education, they passed the yearly school exams. Everyone in the family were also closely involved in taking care of the younger brother, who was mentally retarded, 2-year-old level, and suffered from a rare type of epilepsy. Over the years, the brother almost died 14 times. Every time he went into an epileptic seizure. By the time Guillaume was 15 years old, Mado faced her death wall. She knew that she would die if she continued on this path of trying to be the perfect mother. That is when she found Ghis. After her first workshop with Ghis, she knew she had to leave the family and continue on her personal journey. Geneviève was 18 years old, studying at university and living on her own. That is why she did not feel abandoned. Mado even went to live with her initially after leaving the family home. Today, Mado continues to have a positive relationship with Geneviève and her partner. Mado is directly involved with the upbringing of her two grandchildren, as she mentioned in her article, Les Sur-Enfants, the over-children. From Guillaume's perspective, Mado did not only leave her husband, she abandoned him and his brother. Jocelyn, the father, could no longer take care of the brother, and therefore he was placed in a foster home. In one of his videos, Guillaume admits that in retrospect, placing his brother in the foster home was the best thing that could have happened to him. His epileptic seizures miraculously ended with that change, and he continued his simple life in a very happy environment. Guillaume, on the other hand, continued his life with deep resentment, even possible hate towards his mother. In one video, he called her a soulless bitch. I was shocked to hear him say that in a video, but at the same time, I was extremely grateful for his open honesty. His honesty allowed me to understand the control the human ego has in a young soul. It also made me wonder how my children perceive me and how they are living me abandoning them. There are more details to Guillaume's feelings towards Mado that I won't describe here. Suffice it to say, he lived the shock of abandonment very deeply. On Ghis' image, I remember who I am, included in the attachments, one can see that the conflict is separation, the need is relationship, and the fear is solitude because of abandonment. I believe that Guillaume also suffered from devaluation. helplessness and loss, and lack of vital needs. A combination of all these conflicts expressed itself first in his testicles, with a mass formation, and then the cancer in his lungs. The shock came when he was 15, but turned into turbo cancer after the 2 COVID injections he accepted in order to be able to travel. He was not vaccinated at all as a child, since Mado, even back then, knew of the dangers. I assume Mado also warned him about accepting the COVID shots, but clearly nothing Mado said had any credibility for Guillaume. He rejected his mother and tried to cut her off from his life completely. He explained this in one of his videos. I will not explain to you how I believe Mado has lived all of these events. I will simply say that I know, without having her confirmation. What is important to me is sharing with you both that I now understand more deeply what my children are experiencing. Guillaume provided me with a window towards this deeper understanding and more details of what young souls are experiencing. I'm an old soul, and up until now, I believed what is so obvious to me will become obvious to everyone sooner or later. My ego convinced me that you will all soon understand me and my journey. First, I thought that my book will explain everything to you, and you will then understand me. When that did not happen, I started believing that COVID will bring to light all the insanity of this life, and then you will understand me. When that did not happen, my ego convinced me that the economic collapse, the upcoming wars, and the world conflicts will make at least some of you understand me. Now I know nobody will understand me in this lifetime. My journey is my unique journey and my personal evolution. It is only my ego who needs to be understood. My ego will die with this physical body, and therefore the true me, my soul, who is already perfect, does not need to be understood. She simply came here to evolve effectively and hopefully, because of my individual experiences through all of you, I will graduate to fourth density in this lifetime. There's no need for you or my children to understand my journey. It is my journey. Guillaume gave me this gift of understanding, which his mother, Mado, nor Ghis were able to provide for me. This is the perfection of everything. Mama, what is important for you to understand is that everything serves your soul. You will eventually go to heaven. There, you will join Tato and your parents. From heaven, you will watch us all continue the game of life here on earth. You will have a good laugh because in heaven, you will understand everything. After a short but well deserved rest, you will start planning your next life in the game. Therefore, I know that while in heaven, you will appreciate and be grateful for the role I played in your physical life. I don't need your appreciation nor your understanding here in the game because I know your soul already appreciates and understands everything. You will eventually return into the game to continue your evolution of consciousness, and you will once again forget everything that you will be aware of in heaven. The above paragraph is a short explanation of the information that is available in my last video on free will. as I have said in a previous email. There's no need for you to listen to that video. Your soul is learning what she came here to learn. I simply wish that your ego continues his remaining days here on earth in peace. Infinite love, your earthly daughter, Tatiana. From millennium slavery to individual sovereignty. In the Orient, in the 20th century, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother discovered and anchored truth consciousness, the supramental consciousness in the earthly atmosphere. Once well anchored, the new consciousness was ready to move on to the next stage, its popularization and propagation. In the West, in the 21st century emerged personal creatia, the power of the sovereign person to govern oneself. Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga goes beyond individual liberation and undertakes collective transformation on earth. After the death of Sri Aurobindo, the Mother continued their work, and on February 29, 1956, the supramental consciousness was definitely anchored on earth. One single and sincere look at the present world situation is enough to convince anybody that it has reached a point of no return. Humanity is heading towards a monumental dead end. Let's stop repeating our obsolete ways, which can only bring more suffering. Personal creatia continues the diffusion of truth consciousness in the West. Substantial unity replaces the guru-disciple separation. Let us all spread the contagion of love. I'm out of the game. Like Truman in The Truman Show, I have taken my bow and left a world of illusion, this computer simulation to which I have given authority to manage my life. I leave the theater where I have played time and time again the roles of disciple, daughter, parent, dentist, entrepreneur, citizen. Today, I devote myself fully and without limits to spreading individual sovereignty, the truth consciousness that I have been experiencing since 2002. Infinite love.